Have you ever stopped to think that something as ordinary and safe as your morning oatmeal, a food you've probably eaten for decades, might not be working the way you think anymore? Most people over 60 start their day with oatmeal believing it's one of the most heart-friendly, brain-supportive breakfasts they can choose. It feels warm, gentle, familiar, and wholesome. It's been marketed for years as the #1 food for lowering cholesterol and protecting your arteries. But here's the uncomfortable truth almost no one talks about. The same oatmeal you trust could quietly push you toward the very problems you're trying to avoid: blood sugar spikes, artery stiffness, circulation issues, and in the long run, even heart attacks or brain strokes, if you're making a few simple mistakes with it. Oatmeal itself is not the enemy. In fact, it's incredibly powerful when used correctly. It's rich in beta-glucan, a unique fiber known for softening arteries and reducing LDL cholesterol. It contains minerals that support your nerves and blood vessels, antioxidants that calm inflammation, and slow-digesting carbohydrates that should, at least in theory, give you steady energy instead of sudden crashes. For seniors, these benefits are priceless. Smoother digestion, more stable blood pressure, easier circulation, and a calmer, steadier brain. But what most people don't realize is that these benefits are fragile. They can be strengthened or completely erased depending on how you prepare your oatmeal, what you mix into it, and even when you eat it. Once you cross 60, your digestion and metabolism don't behave the same way they used to. The stomach produces less acid. Enzymes weaken. Blood vessels lose some elasticity. Your body becomes more sensitive to sugar spikes, more reactive to certain fats, and more easily thrown off balance by foods that were perfectly harmless 20 years ago. That means even the healthiest breakfast can quietly become risky if it's combined or timed incorrectly. With oatmeal, this becomes especially important. Oatmeal is an absorptive food. It holds onto liquids, fats, sugars, and even medications inside your gut. When you add the wrong topping, choose the wrong creamer, or eat it at the wrong moment, it doesn't just change the flavor. It changes how your blood sugar behaves. It changes how thick or thin your blood becomes. It changes how your heart and brain receive oxygen and nutrients. These effects don't shout. They whisper. But those whispers build into major problems with time. Think of your arteries like small, delicate highways feeding your heart and brain. Every meal you eat affects how smoothly traffic moves on those highways. A few misguided oatmeal habits, like pouring in sugary syrups, loading it with dried fruits, cooking it with heavy cream, or eating it before your medication, create tiny blockages and waves of inflammation that narrow those pathways bit by bit. You don't feel these changes happening. You only feel the tiredness, the dizziness, the pressure in your chest, the slower thinking, or the sudden afternoon crash. And when seniors experience a heart attack or a brain stroke out of nowhere, it is almost never out of nowhere. It's built from long chains of tiny choices repeated daily without anyone realizing the damage they cause. And that's what makes this topic so important. Oatmeal is not dangerous by itself. Misunderstanding it is. When handled correctly, oatmeal becomes a true ally for aging. It stabilizes blood sugar, supports the heart, feeds the brain, and keeps your digestion moving with ease. But when handled carelessly, when you add the wrong sweeteners, choose the wrong mix-ins, rely on it every single day, or eat it at the wrong time, that same bowl becomes a trigger for the very problems you want to prevent: artery stiffness, blood pressure swings, blood sugar instability, and long-term cardiovascular strain. What makes this even more alarming is that most of the mistakes people make with oatmeal don't feel like mistakes at all. You don't feel the sugar spike from maple syrup. You don't feel the inflammation from flavored creamers. You don't feel the nutrient blockage when oatmeal interferes with your medication. At most, you feel a little sluggish after breakfast or notice that you're hungry again sooner than you expected. You might think it's just aging, but inside your body, something deeper is happening. Something that affects your circulation, your heart rhythm, your oxygen flow, even your brain clarity. And because it's oatmeal, a food everyone calls healthy, no one suspects it. But here's the good news. Every one of these silent issues can be reversed simply by learning how to prepare and time oatmeal the right way. You don't have to stop eating it. You don't have to fear it. You just need to understand how it behaves in an aging body, what combinations are safe, what pairings are dangerous, and how to unlock the full heart-protective, brain-strengthening potential hidden inside each bowl. Once you understand that rhythm, the timing, the pairing, the balance, oatmeal becomes powerful again. It shifts from being a silent risk to being a daily shield for your heart and brain. And in this video, That's exactly what we're going to explore. The 10 oatmeal mistakes seniors must avoid after age 60. These are the mistakes that quietly raise inflammation, block medications, thicken the blood, or spike your sugar levels without warning. Some are so common that almost every household makes them. Mistake number 3 is one even the most health-conscious people get wrong, and doctors actually warn seniors about it because of its impact on cholesterol and artery health. If you care about protecting your heart, improving circulation, supporting your brain, and avoiding the silent buildup that leads to heart attacks or strokes, then stay with me until the end. And before we begin, hit the like button and type yes in the comments if oatmeal is part of your morning routine, because what you'll discover today might change the way you prepare it forever. Now, let's begin with mistake number 1. Number 1. Eating oatmeal on an empty stomach. Most people don't think twice about this one. You wake up, maybe your knees feel a little stiff, maybe your mouth is still dry from the night, and you just want something warm, quick, and comforting. So you grab your bowl, pour the oats, add hot water or milk, and sit down thinking you're doing something absolutely perfect for your body. And for years, everyone has told you the same thing: oatmeal is healthy. Oatmeal is heart-friendly. Oatmeal is safe. So the idea that this simple bowl could actually stress your heart or even push you closer to blood sugar-related damage never crosses your mind. But here's the quiet truth almost nobody realizes, especially people over 60. Eating oatmeal completely alone, on an empty stomach, is one of the easiest ways to turn this heart-friendly food into a blood sugar-spiking, energy-crashing, circulation-stressful trap. It's such an innocent, everyday habit that seniors fall into without even noticing, and it's exactly the kind of habit that can slowly chip away at heart health without ever making a sound. You see, when you first wake up, your body is already in a slightly unstable state. Your stomach has been empty for hours, your insulin levels are sensitive, and your digestive system is waiting for something to set the tone for the day. If the first thing you pour into that empty stomach is a bowl of oats all by themselves, your system absorbs those carbs far faster than you'd expect. Oatmeal feels slow and heavy, but chemically, when eaten alone, it digests surprisingly fast. Seniors experience this even more intensely because digestion slows with age, the body's glucose regulation becomes more delicate, and the protective buffering response isn't as sharp as it used to be. So instead of giving you that steady, calm, gentle energy oatmeal is supposed to provide, the opposite happens: a sudden spike. A sharp jump. A rush that feels harmless but can silently strain your heart, stiffen your arteries, and trigger the very fluctuations that contribute to long-term cardiovascular risks. Most people don't feel this spike directly. They don't feel their blood sugar rising. They don't feel their arteries reacting. It's not dramatic, it's subtle. Maybe they feel a little tired 45 minutes later. Maybe they feel shaky or hungry again even though they just ate. Maybe they feel their morning suddenly slow down. And they chalk it up to age, poor sleep, or stress. But underneath all that, the real issue is that oatmeal alone, without any supporting nutrients, hits the bloodstream too quickly. When you're over 60, your body needs protein, fat, or fiber alongside those carbs to slow them down, control the absorption, and protect the heart from unnecessary stress. Think of it like pouring water down a pipe too fast. The force hits hard. But if you place something in front of the flow, even something small, the pressure becomes controlled and manageable. Your body works the same way. When you pair oatmeal with proteins like nuts, seeds, eggs, or Greek yogurt, you create a natural buffer that slows digestion. Your stomach empties more gradually, your glucose rises more gently, and your heart doesn't experience that sudden wave of metabolic stress. Even something as simple as eating a handful of almonds before your oatmeal can completely change how your body processes it. A drizzle of nut butter, a scoop of chia seeds, or some pumpkin seeds can transform the bowl from a fast-acting carb bomb into a slow-burning fuel source. And when energy enters slowly, your heart stays steady, your blood vessels stay calmer, and you avoid the dangerous roller coaster effect that contributes to long-term circulation problems, artery damage, and yes, the increased risk of things as serious as strokes and heart attacks. But the problem is that most seniors don't prepare oatmeal this way. They wake up, they're hungry, they're in a rush, and they eat it plain. No protein. No fat. No supporting nutrients. Just oats. And the irony is that they think this is the safest choice, the cleanest, the simplest, the lightest. Meanwhile, their heart is quietly absorbing all the consequences they never intended. This is why so many seniors feel drained after breakfast. It's why they feel light-headed in the morning. It's why their energy crashes before noon. And it's why their glucose numbers jump even when they're eating healthy. The bowl is not the problem. The timing and the combination are. Oatmeal is powerful when used correctly, but harmful when eaten alone in the most sensitive moment of the day. So the fix is not to stop eating oatmeal. The fix is to stop eating oatmeal alone. Treat it like a base, not a standalone meal. Give it partners. Let it work in harmony with other nutrients instead of forcing it to hit your bloodstream at full speed. Add protein, add healthy fats, add slow-digesting elements that give your stomach something to hold on to. And if you truly want the full heart-protective benefits, don't make your very first bite of the day pure carbs. Your body deserves more support than that, especially as the years add up. The takeaway here is simple but powerful. Don't eat oatmeal completely alone on an empty stomach. Pairing it properly protects your blood sugar, supports your energy, and keeps your heart safer in the long run. Now let's move to mistake number 2, and this next one is something almost every senior gets wrong without even realizing it. Number 2. Adding brown sugar or maple syrup. There's a moment almost everyone over 60 knows too well. You prepare your oatmeal, it looks warm and plain, and right as you're about to take that first bite, something inside you says, just a little sweetness won't hurt. Maybe you reach for that familiar brown sugar jar. Maybe you drizzle a little maple syrup, telling yourself it's natural, it's pure, it's healthier than the white sugar you used to use years ago. And it feels harmless, comforting even. The sweetness makes the oatmeal smoother, tastier, more enjoyable. It becomes the version you actually want to eat. But this tiny habit, this small spoon or drizzle that seems so innocent, is one of the most deceptive traps for seniors. Because these natural sweeteners, as soft and golden and gentle as they look, still slam your bloodstream with concentrated sugar. And for people over 60, that sugar hits harder, stays longer, and damages deeper than most realize. The truth is, your body doesn't magically treat brown sugar or maple syrup as health food. It doesn't care that maple syrup came from a tree or that brown sugar has a richer flavor. To your bloodstream, it's all fast-acting sugar, and once it enters your system, your body reacts the same way, a rapid spike. A sudden rise in glucose. A rush that forces your pancreas to pump extra insulin. And when you're older, that response is slower, weaker, and less efficient. Your system cannot regulate sugar the same way it did in your 20s or 30s. Digestion slows, glucose clearance slows, and inflammation becomes easier to trigger. What felt harmless becomes a hidden strain, on your arteries, on your heart, and on the delicate metabolic balance that protects you from long-term cardiovascular disasters. You may not feel that spike directly, but its consequences add up quietly. Sugar thickens the blood. It irritates blood vessels. It pushes your heart to work harder just to maintain balance. Over time, those repeated morning spikes stiffen arteries, increase inflammation, and feed into the exact conditions that make strokes and heart attacks more likely. The body of a senior simply cannot afford daily glucose shocks, especially from foods eaten with the belief they're healthier. And the real danger is that brown sugar and maple syrup seem wholesome. They're marketed as pure, organic, natural. But natural does not mean harmless, especially not for the heart. The irony is that oatmeal itself is not the problem. Oatmeal, on its own, is one of the most heart-friendly foods you can eat. It's supportive, gentle, rich in fiber that stabilizes cholesterol. But the moment you drown it in sugar, even a spoon or two, you reverse the very benefit you came for. The beta-glucan in oats works to clean your arteries, but the sugar you add works to inflame them. It becomes a tug-of-war inside your body before you've even finished breakfast. And for seniors, whose arteries are already more delicate, whose hearts already need more protection, who depend on calm, stable glucose levels, that battle becomes dangerous faster than most people expect. But the fix, fortunately, doesn't mean you need to give up flavor or enjoyment. There are ways to sweeten your oatmeal that don't beat up your heart in the process. Instead of dumping sugar, try letting your tongue taste sweetness the way it was designed to, slowly, naturally, and through foods that carry nutrients instead of pure sugar. A sprinkle of cinnamon can create warmth and sweetness without causing a spike. A few berries add flavor, antioxidants, and fiber that works with your heart, not against it. Mashed banana gives a creamy, sweet texture that feels luxurious while offering potassium and slower digesting sugars. A drop of vanilla extract tricks the brain into sensing more sweetness than is actually there. Even these small shifts can completely change how your body responds. And if you're someone who truly can't avoid sweeteners entirely, then portion control becomes your shield. A half teaspoon instead of a full one. A tiny drizzle instead of a pour. Enough for taste, not enough to trigger a surge. Seniors don't need perfection, they need balance. And every small reduction in sugar is a direct gift to your heart and circulation. So the rule is simple: skip the heavy sweeteners. Choose natural, low-sugar flavoring to protect your heart and metabolic health. Now let's move on, because mistake number 3 is one almost every senior is guilty of, and it surprises nearly everyone who hears it. Number 3. Eating oatmeal with heavy cream instead of milk or water. There's a comforting pleasure many people over 60 quietly indulge in, making their oatmeal taste richer, smoother, more satisfying by pouring in a little heavy cream. It feels like a harmless upgrade, a small luxury that turns a simple bowl into something warm and indulgent. And honestly, it does taste better. The cream blends into the oats, softens the texture, deepens the flavor, and makes the whole bowl feel more filling. For many seniors, it becomes a tiny morning reward, a habit picked up slowly over the years. But behind that creamy comfort lies a hidden problem, one that works directly against the very reason seniors eat oatmeal in the first place: to protect the heart, stabilize cholesterol, and keep blood vessels clean and flexible. Because while oatmeal is trying to lower your LDL, the heavy cream you pour on top is quietly working to raise it. Heavy cream isn't like milk. It isn't like yogurt. It's one of the most concentrated sources of saturated fat you can put into your body. And when you add it to oatmeal, a food famous for being heart-friendly, you create a direct conflict inside your bloodstream. The oats deliver soluble fiber meant to sweep away excess cholesterol. But the saturated fat in heavy cream does the opposite. It thickens the blood, stiffens the arteries, and elevates LDL levels, the very type of cholesterol linked to clogged vessels, circulation problems, and cardiac strain. For a young person, the damage may be slower. But for someone over 60, with arteries already less elastic and a heart that needs gentler support, the impact is much sharper. The science is brutally simple. Saturated fats from sources like heavy cream trigger the liver to produce more LDL particles. And these particles don't just float harmlessly, they stick to arterial walls. They accumulate in areas already weakened by age or inflammation. They narrow the passages that supply blood to your brain and heart. And that narrowing is the silent pathway toward strokes, heart attacks, and sudden cardiovascular events that seem to come out of nowhere. This is why pairing a heart-nourishing food like oatmeal with a heart-straining fat source creates such a contradictory and dangerous pattern. Your breakfast becomes a tug-of-war between healing and harming, and your arteries are the battlefield. People over 60 also metabolize fats differently. The pancreas works slower, bile is produced less efficiently, and the body struggles to break down heavy, concentrated fats the way it once could. This means the saturated fat from cream lingers longer, circulates longer, and causes more inflammation. You might not feel anything after eating it, no discomfort, no heaviness, nothing dramatic, but inside, the walls of your arteries feel every drop. They respond by tightening, by becoming less flexible, by creating conditions where even a slight spike in blood pressure or a stressful moment could trigger a serious cardiovascular event. But the good news is that you don't have to give up creaminess to protect your heart. You can still enjoy a rich, satisfying bowl without the damaging load of saturated fat. Using low-fat milk instantly reduces the strain while keeping the comforting texture you love. Almond milk and oat milk give a smooth, mellow creaminess without flooding your system with LDL-raising fats. And one of the smartest tricks is adding a spoon of Greek yogurt after cooking. Not only does it make the oatmeal thicker and richer, but it also adds protein that stabilizes blood sugar and keeps you full longer. You can keep all the comfort, all the warmth, all the satisfaction, just without the cardiovascular cost. The shift is simple. Heavy cream has no place in a heart-protective breakfast. Not after 60. Not when your circulation, cholesterol levels, and artery flexibility are already fighting a harder battle than before. So the takeaway is clear and non-negotiable. Avoid heavy cream. Stick to lighter liquids to keep your oatmeal truly heart-friendly. And now, get ready, because mistake number 4 is something almost everyone thinks is healthy, yet it silently pushes seniors toward the very risks they're trying to avoid. Number 4. Adding large amounts of dried fruits. There's a certain confidence people over 60 feel when they sprinkle dried fruits over their oatmeal. It feels like the healthy choice, a splash of color, a burst of sweetness, something that looks nutritious and innocent. A handful of raisins, a scoop of cranberries, maybe even a mix of dried apricots or dates. It seems better than adding sugar. It feels smarter, more natural. After all, it's fruit. What harm could fruit possibly do? But here's the quiet trap. Dried fruits aren't the same as fresh fruits. They carry the same sweetness, but without the water, without the volume, without the natural dilution that makes fresh fruit gentle on your body. All their sugar is compressed, concentrated, packed into small, chewy bites that disguise how quickly they overload your bloodstream. And for someone over 60, that concentrated punch can hit the heart and arteries in ways many seniors never see coming. Picture this: a single handful of raisins can contain the sugar of an entire bowl of grapes. A handful of sweetened dried cranberries can carry more sugar than a candy bar. But because they look tiny, innocent, and healthy, people pour them by the handful into oatmeal, thinking they're adding nourishment. What they're actually adding is a fast-burning fuel that surges through the bloodstream almost instantly. Without the water that fresh fruit naturally contains, dried fruit becomes a sugar-dense load the body must absorb quickly, and that rush is exactly what older arteries struggle to handle. Instead of slow, steady energy, seniors experience a glucose blast that shakes the metabolic system, forces insulin to surge, and triggers inflammation that quietly injures the delicate lining of blood vessels. Inside the body, this concentrated fructose doesn't behave kindly. For seniors, especially those with slower digestion and reduced pancreatic efficiency, dried fruit can cause sharp glycemic jumps that linger longer than they should. These spikes stiffen arteries, thicken the blood, and strain the heart's ability to maintain stable pressure. The fructose, once inside the liver, converts into fat more easily, contributing to fatty liver issues, cholesterol imbalance, and triglyceride elevation, all of which raise the risk of heart attacks and strokes. And because dried fruits are sticky and dense, they don't digest smoothly. They sit heavy, ferment faster, and create bloating or gut discomfort, especially when paired with a warm, thick food like oatmeal. But the most deceptive part is how easy it is to overdo them. You don't feel the sugar. You don't taste the danger. You just see a handful of dried fruit dissolve into your oatmeal and assume it's a wholesome upgrade. But that handful can carry the sugar of 3 or 4 servings of fruit compressed into one tiny portion. And when eaten early in the morning, on a stomach that's just waking up, that overload sends shockwaves through the bloodstream before your day has even started. Seniors, who already face slower metabolism, weaker insulin response, and more fragile arteries, cannot afford these repeated morning surges, not when they contribute directly to the same cardiovascular events most seniors fear the most. But the good news is you don't have to remove fruit entirely from your breakfast. You simply need to replace intensity with gentleness. Fresh fruits like berries, apples, pears, or peaches bring natural sweetness without overwhelming your bloodstream. Their water content slows absorption. Their fiber steadies digestion. Their nutrients fight inflammation rather than fuel it. Even using a small spoonful of dried fruit, measured, not grabbed by the handful, can be safe. The key is control. You don't need to eliminate dried fruits, but you must stop letting them dominate your bowl. Let them be accents, not the main sweetness. If you want your oatmeal to support your heart, protect your arteries, and stabilize your energy, the solution is simple: limit dried fruit. Fresh fruit keeps your blood sugar steadier and your digestion calmer. And now, brace yourself. Mistake number 5 is one that hides behind a healthy label but quietly destroys the very heart benefits oatmeal is supposed to give you. Number 5. Eating oatmeal before taking medicine. There's a morning habit that feels so normal, so harmless, that millions of seniors never question it. You wake up, head to the kitchen, make your warm bowl of oatmeal, and before you take your first bite, you reach for your daily pills. Maybe it's your blood pressure medication, maybe your thyroid pill, maybe something for cholesterol, or something your doctor prescribed last month. You swallow the pills, take a sip of water, and then dive straight into your oatmeal, believing you've just created the perfect, healthy morning routine. It feels efficient. It feels responsible. It feels like you're doing everything right. But here's the hidden danger almost no one talks about. Oatmeal, when eaten too close to certain medicines, can quietly block their absorption, weakening the very treatments your heart and brain depend on. This isn't a dramatic reaction. You don't feel sick. You don't feel a jolt. You don't get a warning sign that something has gone wrong. Instead, the danger is slow, silent, and cumulative. The soluble fiber in oatmeal, the very thing that makes oatmeal healthy, becomes the very thing that interferes with medications. That thick, gel-like consistency oatmeal forms in your stomach can trap certain pills, especially those designed to absorb quickly on an empty stomach. Instead of entering your bloodstream in the right amount, at the right time, the medicine gets delayed, diluted, or weakened. And when the medicine meant to keep your blood pressure stable, or your heart rhythm steady, or your thyroid balanced doesn't work as intended, the consequences stack up quietly, sometimes leading to the very event seniors fear most. Imagine taking your thyroid medication, a pill that requires near-perfect absorption to keep your metabolism, heart rhythm, and energy levels steady. Now imagine that pill being caught in a slow-moving mesh of soluble fiber, unable to break down or absorb fast enough. Your thyroid levels begin to fluctuate. Your heart beats irregularly. Your energy drops. Many seniors blame age, not realizing the issue began with that innocent bowl of oatmeal. Or consider blood pressure medications. Some of them need to absorb quickly to keep your morning blood pressure stable. If the fiber slows their entry, your pressure can stay higher longer than it should. For someone over 60, even a slight delay or slight rise in morning blood pressure is risky. Morning is already the time when strokes and heart attacks peak because the cardiovascular system is under natural pressure after waking. Blocking or slowing your medication at that exact moment can increase that danger even more. And then, there are antibiotics and certain cholesterol medications, drugs that require clean, direct absorption, uninterrupted by anything bulky or fibrous. When oatmeal grabs onto those medicines, the dose that actually reaches your bloodstream becomes unpredictable. Some days it works a little. Some days it barely works. Your condition doesn't improve, inflammation lingers, infections don't clear, and cholesterol remains high even though you're faithfully taking your prescription. People then wonder why their numbers aren't improving, why their symptoms return, why their doctor keeps adjusting their dosage. Meanwhile, the real problem sits right on the breakfast table. This mistake feels so natural because oatmeal carries such a strong reputation for being healthy. And it absolutely is, just not when timed incorrectly. The problem isn't the oatmeal. It's the order. Your medications need a clear path. They need the stomach to be empty enough to absorb properly, without interference from thick fiber. That's why doctors often say to take certain pills on an empty stomach or 1 hour before food. But most people think oatmeal is gentle enough to ignore that rule. It isn't. Not for seniors. Not when your heart, brain, and circulation depend on the precise timing and effectiveness of your medicines. The fix is simple, much simpler than most people expect. Take your medication first. Then wait 1 to 2 hours before eating oatmeal. That gives your body enough time to absorb the medicine cleanly and consistently. If you're unsure about your specific prescriptions, ask your doctor or pharmacist about timing. Some medications absolutely must be taken alone. Others tolerate small meals but not fiber-heavy ones. Either way, timing matters more after 60 than it did at 30 or 40. Your body processes medicine differently now, and the slightest interference can mean the difference between controlled blood pressure and a dangerous spike, between stable heart rhythm and unnecessary strain. Oatmeal is one of the healthiest breakfasts you can choose, but only when it works with your medication, not against it. So the takeaway is simple. Oatmeal is healthy, but poor timing with medicine can weaken treatment results. And now, get ready, because mistake number 6 involves a food most seniors add with love, comfort, and nostalgia. But inside the bloodstream, it can turn into a damaging combination you would never expect. Number 6. Mixing oatmeal with peanut butter. There's a comforting feeling that comes with stirring a spoonful of peanut butter into a warm bowl of oatmeal. The creamy swirl, the rich aroma, the satisfying thickness. It feels like you're turning a simple breakfast into something hearty, nourishing, and full of protein. And many seniors do this with the best intentions. They've heard peanut butter contains healthy fats. They've heard it gives long-lasting energy. They think they're upgrading their breakfast, making it stronger, more sustaining. But this is where the trap begins. Most peanut butter on store shelves isn't the natural, wholesome food people imagine. It's a blend of peanuts, sugar, processed oils, and stabilizers. And when you mix that kind of peanut butter with oatmeal, you transform a heart-healthy meal into something dangerously close to a dessert. What makes this mistake so subtle is that it doesn't look like dessert. It looks healthy. Peanut butter carries this reputation of being natural, protein-rich, and energizing. But flip the jar around and look at the ingredients. Sugar, molasses, hydrogenated oils, palm oil, corn syrup solids. These are not harmless extras. They turn your oatmeal into a fast-sugar, high-fat combination that hits the bloodstream harder than most seniors realize. When you start your morning with that mix, your blood sugar surges, your insulin spikes, and your heart begins the day under unnecessary stress. The sweetness from the added sugar blends with the carbohydrates in oatmeal and creates a double hit, a quick-absorbing combo that senior metabolism struggles to handle smoothly. Inside your body, this combination triggers a chain reaction. First comes the glucose spike. Your bloodstream fills with sugar faster than your cells can use it. The pancreas, already slower with age, scrambles to release enough insulin to bring things under control. But as insulin rises, inflammation rises with it, especially in older adults. This inflammation irritates the lining of arteries, making them stiffer, less flexible, and more prone to developing plaque. The saturated and hydrogenated oils found in many peanut butter brands worsen this effect by increasing LDL cholesterol, the very type of cholesterol that narrows arteries and raises the risk of heart attacks and strokes. What felt like a cozy, protein-packed breakfast actually becomes a metabolic shock that works directly against your heart. And because peanut butter is dense and calorie-heavy, it sits in the stomach longer, making digestion slower and heavier. Seniors already have reduced digestive enzymes, slower gastric movement, and more sensitivity to fats. So instead of fueling steady energy, sugary peanut butter can cause grogginess, digestive discomfort, and mid-morning crashes. These crashes are often blamed on age, poor sleep, or stress, when in reality the body is simply recovering from a sugar and fat surge it didn't expect. Many seniors don't connect these symptoms to the breakfast they thought was helping them, but the connection is very real. The fix, however, is incredibly simple and incredibly powerful. Switch to natural peanut butter, the kind with only 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt. No sugar. No processed oils. No fillers. This version behaves completely differently inside the body. Natural peanut butter digests more slowly, provides real protein, supports stable blood sugar, and offers healthy fats that actually nourish the heart instead of stressing it. Even better, many seniors find almond butter gentler and less inflammatory, making it another excellent option. But the key is always the same. Check the label. If it has added sugar, skip it. If it has hydrogenated oils, skip it. If the ingredients list looks like a paragraph instead of a sentence, walk away. Natural nut butters protect your heart. Sugary nut butters burden it. When you're over 60, the difference can be life-changing. That simple choice determines whether your breakfast strengthens your metabolism or disrupts it, whether your arteries stay flexible or inflamed, whether your energy stays steady or crashes hours later. And the consequences are not small. Repeated insulin spikes, increased inflammation, and high LDL cholesterol all feed into the same dangerous path that leads to heart attacks and strokes. So the takeaway is clear and firm. Use natural nut butter only. It supports your metabolism instead of spiking it. And now, brace yourself, because mistake number 7 is something so many seniors think is smart or consistent, but in reality, it quietly deprives the body of essential nutrients in ways that create long-term harm. Number 7. Relying on oatmeal as the only breakfast every day. There's a quiet trap many people fall into after 60, routine. It feels safe, predictable, and easy, especially in the mornings. So the bowl of oatmeal becomes not just a breakfast, but the breakfast, repeated every single day without a second thought. It's warm, soft, familiar, comforting. But this same comfort slowly creates a nutritional limitation that works against heart strength and overall metabolic stability. Instead of being a protective habit, it can become a subtle risk factor. Day after day, the body receives the same nutrient profile, the same type of fiber, the same carbohydrate load, and nothing more. Over time, that kind of narrow pattern can leave key vitamins, minerals, proteins, and essential fats missing from the overall diet, quietly weakening the systems that protect against heart attack and stroke. Your heart and brain depend heavily on diversity. Diversity of nutrients, diversity of antioxidants, diversity of fats and proteins. Oatmeal gives you beta-glucan fiber, yes, but it doesn't give you complete proteins, choline, B12, DHA, or the mix of antioxidants the body needs to keep inflammation under control. When seniors rely on oatmeal every morning, they unintentionally starve their metabolism of variation. And as metabolism loses flexibility, the risks rise. A rigid metabolic pattern is exactly what makes blood pressure harder to stabilize, cholesterol more stubborn to control, and blood sugar spikes more damaging. That monotony slowly chips away at the resilience your body needs to keep arteries cleaner and blood flow sharper. It's not that oatmeal is the enemy, it's that oatmeal alone becomes a nutritional ceiling. A healthier pattern is surprisingly simple. Rotate. Build a breakfast cycle that brings in different nutrients across the week, giving your body a richer toolkit. Maybe oatmeal one day, eggs the next, a yogurt bowl the day after, then a fiber-rich smoothie, then whole grain toast with avocado or fruit. Each option feeds the heart in a different way. Eggs bring choline and protein for brain protection, yogurt strengthens gut balance and calcium levels, smoothies deliver antioxidant diversity, and whole grains offer different fibers than oats. By rotating, you enhance metabolic flexibility, which is one of the strongest defenses against the chain of events that lead to heart disease and strokes. Variation keeps your body awake, responsive, and nourished on multiple fronts instead of being trapped in the same nutritional loop. So the rule is simple: keep oatmeal in your life, but don't let it become your entire breakfast identity. Let it share space with other nourishing meals. Number 8. Eating oatmeal made with flavored non-dairy creamers. There's a certain convenience that pulls people in, especially after 60, when mornings feel slower and energy feels limited. A splash of flavored non-dairy creamer seems harmless, even clever. It adds sweetness, smoothness, and a familiar cafe-style taste without the need for measuring or preparing anything extra. Vanilla, hazelnut, caramel, pumpkin spice. Just twist the cap, pour, and the oatmeal suddenly tastes better. But what feels like a shortcut to richness actually works against the very reason people eat oatmeal in the first place. These creamers are engineered, not grown. They're built with artificial flavors, gums, emulsifiers, hydrogenated oils, and sugar blends designed to make your brain think you're eating something luxurious, while your heart silently pays the price. What was supposed to be a heart-friendly breakfast becomes a chemical-loaded bowl that flips the nutritional script entirely. When these creamers slide into oatmeal, they do something dangerous on the inside. Hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated oils introduce trans fats and unstable fatty acids that increase inflammation in the bloodstream, one of the biggest triggers behind stroke and heart attack. Synthetic flavor chemicals don't just add taste, they burden the liver and digestive system, which slows down metabolism and interferes with how your body processes fats and sugars. Hidden sugars, often listed under names like corn syrup solids, maltodextrin, or natural flavors, add to the glycemic load of your meal, pushing blood sugar higher than your body expects first thing in the morning. For seniors, this combination can stiffen arteries, destabilize blood pressure, and thicken the metabolic fog that weakens cardiovascular health over time. What your taste buds enjoy for a moment can create inflammation that lasts for hours. The good news is that flavor doesn't need to come from a bottle designed in a lab. The simplest switch rebuilds the entire benefit structure of your breakfast. Using unsweetened almond milk or oat milk keeps the oatmeal's natural fiber working for you instead of fighting against a swamp of chemicals. A spoon of cocoa gives depth without sugar. A sprinkle of cinnamon boosts circulation and adds warmth. Fresh fruit adds sweetness with antioxidants that actually protect the arteries rather than inflaming them. Even coconut milk, unsweetened, brings richness that feels indulgent but keeps the body's inflammatory response calm and controlled. These natural ingredients don't just flavor the bowl, they protect it. They amplify everything oatmeal is supposed to do: steady your blood sugar, clean your arteries, support digestion, and maintain a healthy rhythm in the bloodstream. You don't have to give up flavor. You just have to give up the artificial shortcuts that trade convenience for cardiovascular strain. Keep your oatmeal clean, simple, and naturally flavored so every spoonful actually supports your heart instead of quietly working against it. Number 9. Adding butter to oatmeal for taste. There's a familiar comfort in adding a pat of butter to hot oatmeal. The moment it melts and spreads across the surface, turning the bowl glossy and rich, it feels like childhood, like something warm and indulgent that makes the morning softer. Many seniors do this without even thinking. Just a small scoop for flavor, just a little richness to make a plain bowl more satisfying. But that tiny pat quietly sabotages the very reason oatmeal is chosen in the first place. People reach for oatmeal because it's heart protective, because it keeps cholesterol down, because it's supposed to be the safe, stable, nourishing breakfast. The moment butter slides in, the entire chemistry of the bowl shifts from healing to harmful. What seems harmless becomes a daily dose of saturated fat that clogs progress you don't even see happening. Inside the body, butter behaves very differently from the warm, comforting image it projects on the spoon. It raises LDL cholesterol in a direct mechanical way, making the blood slightly thicker, the arteries slightly stiffer, and the heart slightly more strained. The more often it appears in a senior's breakfast routine, the more those slight changes accumulate into real cardiovascular risk. This is where the danger creeps in silently. Oatmeal's beta-glucan fiber is designed to lower LDL, to bind cholesterol in the gut, to ease pressure on arteries. But butter neutralizes that benefit almost instantly. The saturated fat in it counteracts the oatmeal's cholesterol-lowering effect like pouring water on fire. Instead of helping the blood flow more smoothly and reducing plaque formation, the meal becomes a contradictory combination. One part trying to heal the arteries, the other part stiffening them. For people over 60, who already face slower metabolism and higher sensitivity to dietary fats, that contradiction pushes the body toward inflammation, higher blood pressure, and the precursors of stroke and heart attack. The solution isn't to make oatmeal bland, it's to make it smarter. A teaspoon of olive oil might sound unusual, but it adds a silky texture and brings heart-loving antioxidants instead of harmful fats. Natural nut butter adds richness with monounsaturated fats that support arterial flexibility rather than damaging it. Cinnamon gives aroma, warmth, and improves blood sugar stability without adding a single gram of saturated fat. Even a drizzle of pure vanilla extract or a sprinkle of cardamom can transform the bowl into something fragrant and exciting without pushing cholesterol upward. There are dozens of ways to create flavor that reinforce your health instead of threatening it. The goal isn't to remove pleasure from breakfast, it's to remove the quiet threat hiding in that one pat of butter. What you add to oatmeal matters just as much as the oatmeal itself. Replacing butter with lighter, heart-friendly flavor boosters keeps the bowl working in your favor, protecting your arteries, stabilizing your circulation, and giving your heart the support it needs every single morning. Number 10. Making oatmeal with fruit-flavored syrups. There's a moment many people over 60 fall into without noticing. Standing in the kitchen, oatmeal steaming on the counter, they reach instinctively for that bright bottle of strawberry syrup or blueberry drizzle. It's quick, it's easy, it tastes familiar, and it transforms a plain bowl into something colorful and sweet within seconds. It feels innocent, even practical. After all, isn't fruit-flavored syrup basically fruit, just in a convenient liquid form? But what slips into that bowl is not fruit at all. It's a concentrated blend of corn syrup, artificial flavors, synthetic dyes, and lab-made sweetness that the body reads as stress, not nourishment. Instead of adding something wholesome, it pours in one of the fastest ways to spike blood sugar, inflame the arteries, and place pressure on a heart that already works harder after age 60. Inside the bloodstream, these syrups behave like a mini sugar bomb. They surge glucose levels sharply, faster than table sugar, because their base is almost always high-fructose corn syrup, a substance that bypasses normal metabolic checks and hammers the liver with a sudden load. For seniors, whose insulin response is naturally slower and more fragile, this leads to instability, energy swings, elevated inflammation, and increased arterial tension. The chemicals that give the syrup its blueberry or raspberry taste don't comfort the body, they agitate it. Artificial coloring compounds trigger oxidative stress, pushing the bloodstream into a state where plaques form more easily and blood vessels lose their elasticity. This is the precise environment where heart attacks and strokes find their opportunity. Oatmeal on its own is meant to lower cholesterol, calm inflammation, and support the heart. The syrup reverses those benefits within minutes. You're left with a bowl that tastes fruity but behaves like dessert disguised as breakfast. Real fruit changes everything. Fresh berries add natural sweetness but also fiber that slows sugar absorption, keeping glucose levels steady instead of chaotic. Banana slices bring potassium to relax blood vessels and support the heart's workload. Chopped pears deliver antioxidants that soothe inflammation instead of igniting it. Whole fruit introduces vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds that nourish the bloodstream and enhance the oatmeal's original purpose, supporting heart health, reducing cholesterol, and protecting arteries from the slow, hidden way that leads to cardiovascular emergencies. With whole fruit, the meal becomes complete instead of chaotic. It moves the body toward stability instead of strain. Fruit doesn't just sweeten, it strengthens. Replacing syrup with real fruit is one of the simplest, most powerful shifts a senior can make. It transforms oatmeal from a sugar-loaded trap into a protective, healing breakfast that works with your heart instead of against it. Using real fruit, not the artificial imitation, keeps your morning bowl nourishing, supportive, and genuinely aligned with long-term cardiovascular safety. That's it for today's video. If this helped you understand your daily habits better, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Your support keeps these life-saving guides coming. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.